Welcome back. This week I pushed past some pretty big mindset hurdles with my creative projects. And it's reminding me just how important it is to tackle those limiting beliefs that can hold us back from creating a life we really love. So I want to dive in, and first I'll show you what I've been creating with my zine, and then I'll talk to you a little bit more about what I learned and how I broke through some pretty major self-sabotage that kept me paralyzed creatively for a lot of the past week. So since my last video, there's been a lot of progress on my zine, The World's Full of Stories, that I'm really excited to show you. I did a lot of overall work on the zine because there were still parts of it where I needed to clean up and tighten up the writing. So I spent a lot of time fine-tuning the content. I also fine-tuned a lot of the overall design formatting. This is definitely less sexy work to show you, but it is important nonetheless. I have been putting off some of these parts of the zine because I'd rather just play in the fun art parts, but it feels really good to have invested some energy there and feel like the content is in a much stronger place. I've also been really thinking through how to work with the watercolors for the zine. I've had this vision of using my pencil drawing art and then layering my watercolor washes and elements underneath and on top of those drawings in the spreads. However, I'm really not happy with how it's been turning out with the watercolor washes. So here you can see where I tried it in one of the spreads and I just think it looks too heavy, and I manipulated it a lot and edited it and refined it, and I still just couldn't get it looking how I wanted it to look. I really like these little watercolor and charcoal sketch elements that I have included, but the watercolor washes as a whole just aren't working. I'm thinking that if I really wanted to make it work with taking my own analog watercolor washes, it's just gonna take way more trial and error than I feel like I have patience for. I'm realizing I can probably paint those watercolor washes digitally instead and be able to get the result that I'm looking for. So I did play with it a bit this week and I'm pretty happy with how it's coming together. This spread is about how our inner stories of who we are, who others are, and what life is all about are the lens through which we see the world. On the right side of this spread, I'm sharing an example of how the European settlers and the North American natives had very different stories about who they were, who others were, and what life was all about, and how that impacted their actions. I'm sharing this really potent quote that's inspired me so much over the years from Chief Luther Standing Bear of the Oglala Sioux tribe that really illustrates this point. With lots of text like this, it's really important that the watercolor wash doesn't come on too strong and isn't too heavy, because it can compromise readability. So I think so far I'm achieving a good balance here. I might alter the coloring a little bit to fit with the coloring of the overall zine as I get more and more of that figured out and get going, but luckily doing the painting digitally is going to make that a lot easier to do. I really want the watercolor washes to feel really light and transparent, and I think doing them digitally is accomplishing that a lot easier. So I'll keep working on the digital watercolor paintings in the spreads over the next week, and hopefully I'll have some good things to show you next week. I've also made progress on the cover painting, which if you watched last week's video, you know that I have been having a major creative block there and have been avoiding it and putting it off, but finally broke through that this week and was able to spend a lot of time painting it and actually got it finished.
Here I'm adding a photo of the newly finished painting into the design file. And you might not see a really dramatic difference this far away. It's easier to see up close because I had taken a photo a week or so ago and been using that, but now using the final art, it's really exciting to see it all come together. So now I'm dropping that cover design into the mock-up file, and there we go. That gives us a little vision of what this might look like when it's printed. And then now just adjusting the back to see how that's coming together. Oh, I love it.
I've also been working on the art for this spread, where I'm trying to communicate how important it is to understand the stories that lie beneath our conscious awareness. The concept reminds me of an iceberg, where if you only see the tiny tip above the surface, like the example I'm giving of maybe telling yourself a story like, I'm shy, then you might miss the bigger, more impactful beliefs that are underneath the surface, the ones that are really blocking and limiting you. Like the example I'm giving here, those deeper beliefs like, if people really saw me as I am, they wouldn't like me, or no one cares, or people aren't safe. So to illustrate this concept, I've been envisioning a woman with long flowing hair done in a sketch with then watercolor overlaid over the top so that you're only seeing, her eyes above the surface and it looks like the rest is underwater. I got to work on the drawing of the woman and had so much fun with all of her swirly long hair. Then I got the crazy idea of what if I drew some swirly koi fish on her clothing, which is also a nod to being underwater, but also adds some more visual interest to the image. And voila! I really, really like how this drawing came out, and it's actually got me so excited to try some other creative ideas and projects with this concept. So now it's time to try the watercolor layer on top of the drawing in Procreate and see if my original vision can work.
So I've brought the drawing in and now I'm extracting the background out of it and then trying the watercolor layers, and I like it.
Now let's try putting it into the spread and mocking it up.
Now we're inside the mock-up design file in Photoshop, and I'm just going to add in the underwater girl spread. And it's a little bit of a trick trying to make it work because the mock-up file isn't the exact sizing of my zine, but it's close enough, and these are so fun to make because they give you a really good view of what the zine might look like once it's printed. So I mainly do these because they're just so fun and motivating for me, but they can be tricky. As you'll see, that didn't line up. So I had to play more with the sizing to get it to kind of fake line up, but overall it's so pretty and I'm happy.
I should mention at this point that most of the zines that I've seen are more handwritten and DIY looking than this, so I know this isn't a typical zine. However, I think the spirit of creating a zine is all about you, the artist and the writer, being able to express your idea and yourself in a way that fits you. So as a graphic designer of nearly 20 years, it's really fun for me to blend graphic design with my illustrations like this. Now, in spite of getting a lot accomplished, as I mentioned, I did struggle with some pretty severe self-sabotage for a lot of this past week. Typically, I've been doing these art vlog updates weekly, but if you went through my YouTube channel, you might notice that I didn't post any update last week. That means it's technically been 2 weeks since my last update. This is because last week I hit that major wall, and I just couldn't make myself make a video, let alone work on any more art for the zine. To give you a taste of where my mindset was at, here's a bit of me talking to my friend when I was really in the thick of it.
I'm just still processing like what even happened, because looks like was strong that it was helpful, feels like was so devastating that I haven't touched my art until this morning. Like I took the entire Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all of it off. Just I did embroider because I can still do that, but no drawing, no painting, but I've just been grieving. And so finally this morning I was like, damn it, I need to do a judge your neighbor worksheet on this, because this is triggering some big stuff, And so it was super helpful, just showing me once again, how do I act when I believe I need someone outside of me to save me? And, how do I act when I believe that I don't need that I just I believe in what I'm doing and that's enough, or I'm enjoying what I'm doing and that's enough. So then after going through that, I found the energy and I got back to painting this morning. I woke up at 5 and just felt no resistance towards art, and felt like I needed to journal through stuff, journaled through that, and then I hopped right back into painting my cover for my zine. But I feel like if I was just had an energetic scan right now, I feel like I was in the middle of a grenade that went off. I feel like I'm just kind of still limping along and only have pieces and parts of myself back. So I'm just working on getting that back, but I'm still really unwinding from it. And there's still anger and pain in feeling not seen and heard and valued. I feel like my stories are so big around this. So then I was just looking at all the beliefs I was projecting onto him. So I'm just sitting in it this week,
So what sparked this, you might be wondering? Well, I met with one of my creative heroes and showed him everything that I've been working on. This is part of why I got so much done in the beginning of 2 weeks ago, because I was wanting him to see my zine more further along. So I really hustled and got a lot done prior to that meeting. However, during our call, instead of giving me any sort of validation that what I was making was good at all, he spent the entire time focused on what I needed to do better. Now, I'm typically pretty disciplined about not letting other people affect my art this much and not going and seeking external validation, but I realized later that because this was someone who is one of my creative heroes that has made such an impact on my creative journey over the past few years, I had given him a lot of power in that conversation. When he didn't give my work any sort of acknowledgement or validation, and when the things that he was suggesting felt like I was just so far away from ever being able to create what I really wanted to create and for it to make the impact I wanted it to make, it just knocked me out creatively. Like I said to my friend, it was like a grenade went off energetically and just broke me apart into pieces, and I genuinely wasn't sure how I was going to put myself back together again and get back to creating. It was like after that phone call, I couldn't even muster the energy to do any art, let alone continuing to work on my zine or work on my YouTube videos or anything. I was just absolutely paralyzed by stories like, no one cares, why bother, why are you even doing this, you're wasting your time, you'll pour all this time and energy into this project and it won't even matter in the end. Now please understand that I am not blaming my creative hero for any of this. It was honestly just the perfect storm where he showed up and pushed the buttons and vulnerabilities that I didn't even know I had at the time. And this honestly is the gift of other people. They can show us parts of ourselves that we can't see otherwise. So ultimately, I'm really grateful for how the call went because it helped me see ways that I'm still waiting for permission and looking for people outside of me to tell me that what I'm doing and what I'm creating matters. And I know these aren't healthy ways of operating, and frankly, they're dangerous to my creativity, as we saw from how it absolutely crippled me last week. So during this time of massive self-sabotage and doubt, I did still want to keep showing up a little bit for myself creatively. It was like that little bit of hope that maybe I'll get through this, maybe I'll come through on the other side. And so I spent a lot of time embroidering. I was working on this cover for one of my inspiration books, and it was really good meditative work that still helped fill my cup, but it didn't feel as high stakes as working on my zine. I also tried to be really gentle with myself physically. I read a lot of fantasy novels. I learned how to make homemade kefir, which is this really yummy probiotic superfood drink that's so good for our digestive systems. I went on more walks. I got more sleep. I really slowed down and tried to take more time to savor and enjoy time with my loved ones especially. I gave myself time to heal and recover and see what was next in my path. Whether or not that was going to be pursuing my art, I had no idea when I was in the thick of it. But what helped me come out of it was reminding myself of what I speak to quite a bit here, and that is that my belief in my vision matters most to my dream or goal. I reminded myself that every beautiful thing I love all started as an idea, and that just because he can't see my vision, that doesn't make my vision less valid. Just because he isn't celebrating my work, that doesn't mean that I shouldn't. I should, because honestly, I'm not doing this for him. I'm mostly creating this and showing up for my art each day for myself. When I'm working on my zine, even if it's just 15 minutes a day, it lights up my day. It gives me more energy and vitality for everything and everyone in my everyday life. It helps fill up my cup so I'm not running on empty. And yes, I do believe that the content in this zine is powerful, and I have high hopes that it can really bless and help other people in their lives also. But at the end of the day, I have to let this project work on me first. I like to remind myself too that this this might just be a gift I give to my children. I like the idea of them having in a little booklet a lot of the ideas and concepts and lessons that we talk about all the time as I'm trying to help them navigate their own limiting beliefs and stories and trying to encourage them to pursue what lights them up. But I also recognize that this may not affect them. It might not change their lives. They may not appreciate it, and that that's okay. So the perspective that seems the most healthy is to just keep showing up for the project for my own well-being and joy. Working on this zine honestly delights me. It's helping me find the words and images to capture lessons I've learned over the years and things that are really dear to my heart. It's helping me learn to better express myself as an artist and a writer. And all of those reasons are good enough reasons for me to continue. Now, I will admit that part of me feels a little self-conscious in sharing any of this with you. I keep thinking that for those of you who have been watching my weekly updates, you'll be seeing that I've hit blocks nearly every time. But I think it's so important to show more and more of the reality of what it looks like to bring some of these big goals and dreams and heart projects to life. In my experience, it's extremely messy. It's facing yourself every single day. In some ways, especially in the beginning of a project, it can feel like you're crazy because you're the only person who sees the vision and understands it and seems to care. That's a really vulnerable space to live in, let alone create in. So it doesn't surprise me when people shy away from their dreams and their goals and creative projects. I've walked this path too many times to not be humbled by the amount of courage it requires to keep showing up for your dream and to keep showing up for what lights you up. It honestly all makes me kind of chuckle at the dream big shirts and pillows that you can find for sale in kids' departments and all over. It makes the idea of dreaming big seem kind of cliche or like it's this fun little side hobby you can have. But for truly big dreams that mean a lot to us and big goals that have our hopes and our fears all strung up within them, it requires immense courage and fortitude to take action and to stick with it to see it through. But here's the thing. I believe we are stronger than we think we are. I believe we can do it, and I believe you can do it. I'm hoping that by sharing all of this and letting you see a peek behind the curtain of what's happening in my creative journey, that it will be inspiring and supportive to your creative journey, because your dream and your goals matter and you matter. So please show up for yourself. And if you need additional support to stick with your dream and to continue to pursue your goals, definitely subscribe to my channel and hit that bell so you can continue to receive my encouragement coming to you. Also, you may want to consider coming and hanging out with me on Substack or Patreon, where I can cheer you on even more. Meanwhile, let me know in the comments something you're going to be working on this week that's going to move you closer to your dreams, goals, and the life that you really desire. And if you could use a little bit more encouragement today, definitely check out my video on why your dreams matter and why pursuing them matters so much. Meanwhile, know that I am cheering you on wholeheartedly in following your heart and showing up for yourself.